ladies, this is Dolce K. This is gonna be an unscripted video. I just wanted to touch bases on my other video that I did about jealousy. I noticed at the end of the video, I don't think you guys could see the journaling prompts, but I just wanted to answer some of these journaling prompts, and maybe that will inspire some of you to think about some of these questions and reflect on it. Of course, if you'd like to share, leave your thoughts and your reflections or any insights that you discovered in the comments below. Go ahead and click that like button and the subscribe button, as well as the notification bell, so that you can be notified every time I post another video like so. Let's go ahead and get into it. So I just want to remind you, I just want to do a quick refresher on what jealousy is. So it's a social emotion, and it's rooted in a belief that somebody has something that's rightfully yours, right? And anyone can experience jealousy, and they can experience jealousy in any type of situation, in any type of environment. I think I mentioned in my other video that colorism isn't immune to jealousy. Racism is not immune to jealousy. Basically, these big social issues, they are not immune to jealousy. So you can be jealous of someone who you believe is taking something from you, whether that be just an everyday thing or whether it be resulting from like some type of hierarchy or some type of oppressive system. You can still be jealous. For example, a black person can be jealous of a white person. And I always find it interesting when I see women saying that, oh, nobody's jealous of light skinned black women, when anyone can be jealous of anyone. So I'm going to go ahead and be an example and answer some of these journaling prompts. I think one of them asks about jealousy, but no one should ever feel ashamed to admit that an experience that they had caused them to feel jealousy. Hey ladies, it's Editing Dose. Before we dive into today's topic, I want to talk about something important that helps me bring you the content you love. As you know, I'm very passionate about creating a space where light skinned Black women feel seen, validated, and empowered in our experiences, especially when it comes to color discrimination and navigating both multicultural and monocultural identity. A lot of the research I bring into these conversations comes from academic journals that often require paid access. I'm investing in these resources to make sure I'm providing you with accurate, well researched information because these discussions matter, and I want to make sure we have the facts to debunk the myths surrounding our experience. Now, if you found value in the content I create and you'd like to support me in continuing this mission, I set up a Buy Me a Coffee account. Your contributions will go directly towards helping me cover the cost of accessing these academic journals and other research tools, as well as delivering high quality, entertaining, insightful content. Even a small contribution goes a long way in helping me expand this platform and dive deeper into the important topics we talk about here. So if you feel called to support, head over to buymeacoffee.com/dulcek and buy me a coffee today. It's a simple way to keep this channel growing and ensure I can keep providing you with the best information possible. Thank you so much for your love and your support. It means everything to me. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I'll see you in the next video. Let's get back to it. Okay, so I may or may not answer all of these prompts depending on how much time that I have, but I'll do my best. But the first one is asking, within my community, what advantages do I think I have as a light-skinned Black woman? So I am in the Black community, and in my region, I feel like the advantages that I have is that people are more willing to take me seriously because I am very confident and I'm light skinned. So I'll give an example. So like when I was in college, right? Um, I was in like a lot of different art classes, okay? And I remember there were some other black, female students, like my classmates, and they really did question my interests in my art. We even had a class that was about dance interpretation. So you would have to perform these like different dance interpretations. Like you'd have to choreograph your own dance and everything, right? And I never did anything that was stereotypical of Black people, right? Or like Black women, right? So my fellow Black female students, one of them, she was like, "Why are you doing all this stuff? Like, why can't you just, represent your own culture? Like, why, like, that stuff that you're doing is for like weird white girls, right?" And so I remember I used to be the type of person that would just brush that person off or just like laugh it off, whatever. But I remember addressing that and saying, "Hey, well, I am a Black woman and this is what I'm interested in. I can do a lot of dances, but this is what I'm interested in, and you should uplift Black people who have the courage and the freedom and the ability to branch out into other cultures. Like you shouldn't want Black people to be limited to just one thing." And she actually took in what I was saying, but the only reason I think that she did is because I was light skinned and confident, right? And the reason I'm saying that is because I just got the feeling that if it were one of her other friends saying that, because we were like, there were three Black girls in that class, right? And I was the lightest one, right? But the other girl, she just like, they were like friends slash enemies. You know how like people like play fight or whatever, like they would do that type of stuff or like, roast each other and stuff like that. And they were both dark skinned women. And I feel like if the dark skinned girl had said that to her, she would not have, if the other dark skinned girl had said that to her, she would not have been taken seriously. So I don't know, it could be in my head. But I don't really believe that I have any other advantages within the Black community for being a light skinned Black woman. Now, outside of the community, definitely, absolutely. I think that colorism is real. So I do think that lighter skinned Black women have advantages outside of the Black community, but within it, I don't think so. What advantages or privileges do you wish you had within my community? Or do I wish I had in my community? Okay, so this one is kind of an easy one. So automatically, I wish I had the privilege of representing Black women, because I am a Black woman. But unfortunately, I have learned in both my real life experiences and my online experiences that light skinned Black women do not get to represent Black women. Even in the media, I don't really see a lot of monoracial light skinned Black women. And yes, I'm still going to identify as monoracial at this point because of the region that I grew up in. Even with my admixture, we're still considered monoracial. But most of the women that I see in the media, they have like they're not my exact um they're not 75%, 25%. They're either like 80 and above, right? Or like meaning they're fully Black women, or they are biracial women or triracial, like multiracial women, right? So that is what I see in the media, I guess, representing Black women or Black-ish women. I don't really see light-skinned Black women being the representation, and I feel like that is a privilege, right? So that's one privilege that I wish I had within my community. I also wish that I had the privilege of fitting in with other Black girls, like just on the face of it, right? On the face of things, like let's say you don't know anything about me or my personality, right? You don't know anything about my interest. You don't know anything about my life or anything like that, right? Even when I am in a crowd of Black women or like in a room of like Black women and Black people, right? Because I am so light skinned and because in my region there are not a lot of light skinned people, automatically I stand out. And sometimes I just want to like blend in Blackness. Sometimes I just want to feel uniform, or sometimes I do want to just assimilate. And I think that there is a privilege in being able to easily assimilate with the with like the overarching cultural stereotypes. I do think that there is a huge privilege in that because your identity is never challenged. I think not having your identity challenged ever is a privilege. I've had people come up to me, and I'm talking about Black people, right? Come up to me and ask me like, "Oh, are you mixed?" Or like, "Wow, you were just you think you're all that." Like that has literally happened to me, and it's mostly because of my skin tone and my facial features. So it doesn't matter that I'm monoracial because I look different. I always stand out in my region within my community. And I think that I would have had a better Black experience in the Black community had I had the privilege of just fitting in phenotypically. I think that's a huge, huge privilege. So the next question is, did you ever feel like you had to hide your beauty or success to avoid backlash, and why? I never felt like I had to hide my beauty per se. Well, maybe I did, like as a teenager, like in high school. I was just so focused on my studies that I was afraid to do anything that might draw attention to myself because I just wanted to like make it out of the hood and like survive. So, yeah, actually, I remember when I had to wear my like school uniform or whatever, and whenever my mom would do my hair really, really nice, I would get so many cat calls to the point where like people would even try to chase me. This is like in my neighborhood. I live like kind of in a bad neighborhood. And then at school, I was in like cheer and other activities. You know, people would, and I'm specifically talking about Black people would all of a sudden acknowledge my existence or try to create drama from that. And like, you know how high school girls are, like they create rumors about you and other boys and stuff like that. When I saw that that's what was going on, I was like, let me just try to go back to like being invisible if I can and just like focus on my studies. So I was that kid that was like, I don't want to talk to anybody. Please leave me alone. I just want to work. Like, don't talk to me. And then I also did feel like I had to hide my success because people do try to say that you're arrogant if you brag about your success. So, like, anytime I won a scholarship or anything like that, I would literally keep it to myself. And I remember feeling guilty, like, man, maybe I should like share this with the other girls, especially the other Black girls, the few of them that were there in my class. But again, I was just like, I don't want to do that because people are going to be like, oh, you know, you're arrogant. You think you know everything. Why do you think I need your help? Um, and I did have an experience like that in college, actually. And that's when I kind of decided, you know what, I'm not doing that again. Next question. Do you believe that your skin elevates your identity or takes away from it? This is a really tough one. I would love to say that I believe that having light skin elevates my identity as a Black woman, but I do feel that having light skin kind of obfuscates my identity as a Black woman, right? So I told you that people, even within the Black community, would be like, "Are you, you know, are you mixed? You know, what are you?" And I feel like that takes away from like my identity, or at least my perceived identity. But then on the other hand, because I know my DNA, I know that my DNA is so consistent. Like it's not even all over the place. Like my mom has my same breakdown. My dad has my same breakdown. Their parents have the same breakdown. Like I'm talking about the exact same percentages. That makes me feel more validated in my identity as a Black woman because I understand how history played a role in that. Like I did a video about Black people being mixed, actually. So check that out. I think it's called "Our Mixed Women," "Are Light Skinned Women Mixed?" Like, what's the difference between mixed women and light skinned women? And I go into the statistics that show that on average, the Black American only has like 75 or 76% African DNA, right? So I kind of feel like my skin tone, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like it. On one hand, I feel like it takes away because some people are like, "Oh, you're so light skinned. Are you mixed?" But then on the other hand, I know for a fact that like I'm a black woman because like and my parents, their skin tones are not that far off from mine. And our skin tone is like the dominant gene. Like even when one of us, like in my family line, even when there was a like a darker counterpart, the child that comes out would still look closer to the lighter parent. But like their skin tone would still be closer to the lighter parent's skin tone. Right. So I know that it's a key part of my identity as a black woman. And that reminds me, like my Haitian aunt, one day I was talking to her about these things, and she goes, "I don't understand." No, not I don't understand. She says, "Well, I think a light skinned woman can represent black women. Why can't they?" That's what she said. And she's like a very deep, deep caramel tone Haitian woman, right? So, yeah, there's my answer to that. And then last question, last question on this slide, have I ever been jealous of darker skinned women? And if so, why? What was the situation? Okay, so absolutely 100% yes. And I will tell you why. And I don't care what anybody has to say. Jealousy is a normal social emotion that everybody is going to have their day with, okay? Now, reason being is because my mom had an extreme inferiority complex about her skin tone. My mom has very fair skin, okay? So like she's not even light skinned, she's fair skinned, you guys. And she felt like her skin tone was so inferior, and she felt that she had to do so much work in uplifting dark skinned women that every time there would be like another girl that was like darker than me, she would just go on and on and on and on and on about how beautiful they were. Meanwhile, like she did not do that with me. She didn't like lay it on thick like that. And I understand that she was trying to do something good, and she was trying to correct the issue of colorism. But I was a young girl, and young children love getting attention from their parents, from their mothers. And so this was not something that she normally did. I could tell that what she was doing was performative or rooted in some type of insecurity. But I also felt like, well, why aren't you doing this with me? And I remember asking her, and she told me, and I remember walking away from that conversation with an understanding that we have to be performative when dealing with darker skinned women because there's like colorism going on. And so we have to basically lay it on thick and say, hey, you're beautiful, you're beautiful. But I think I mentioned this in another video. That's fake as hell. Like, that's really fake as hell. Like, there's nothing wrong with giving someone a compliment and uplifting little black girls of all skin tones, but why would you single a darker skinned little girl out and just be like, oh, you're so beautiful with this hotep energy instead of just being genuine, right? And then also, like I mentioned before, like I feel one of the privileges that darker skinned women have is that they can easily be the representation of black women without any objection. But a light skinned black woman with their same exact admixture who has just as much African DNA as a dark skinned black woman will be condemned and mistreated if they have like success or if they're in the public eye representing black women. Right. So I've always been jealous of that because it's not fair. And I am a black woman and it's my identity. What else? I think that's about it. But I remember for a long time in my early years, because my mom struggled so much with light skin guilt and not liking her skin tone, even though she would tell me that like, oh yeah, my skin tone is beautiful, she gave me this narrative that the darker you are, the more beautiful you are. Like darker skin is more beautiful than lighter skin. And she has since apologized for that, and she's working on, overcoming light skin guilt. But honestly, like, a lot of people think that we think that we're better because we're light skinned, but because we are black women, and because this has been a decades long push and promotion for dark skin supremacy, there are a lot of light skinned black women who don't like their skin tone. And I feel like that's wrong. I feel like both dark skinned women and light skinned women should have the freedom to love their skin tone unapologetically. I should have the freedom to come on here and say I'm a beautiful, light skinned, glowing queen, and no one should have anything negative to say to me. Okay, so what do I feel I have taken away from dark skinned black women? Hmm, I really don't know. I personally don't think that I've ever taken anything away from a dark skinned black woman from existing as a light skinned black woman. Uh, yeah, no. I remember I was nominated for a beauty pageant. I don't think that I was nominated because I was light skinned. I think I was nominated because, I was very active in the community. So, yeah, I don't think that I've taken anything from dark skinned black women. I'm really trying to think. Like, I'm really trying to think here and reflect. I will say this though, that as a light-skinned black woman, I do feel like I have been the target of like sexual objectification and even sexual violence directed towards me from other black men that otherwise would have been directed towards dark-skinned black women if I didn't exist as a light skinned black woman. Like if I was light skinned in another race, like or if I was white, or if I was dark skinned in another race, I don't think that those things would have happened to me. So I feel that as a light skinned black woman, I kind of I kind of attract negative attention that would otherwise be something that dark skinned black women would have to deal with. Okay, next question. Are you comfortable receiving compliments, especially about your beauty, especially around other Black women? Okay, so I used to not be comfortable with this at all. And part of it is because I was a huge follower of Chrissy. And I remember listening to her content, I started to become increasingly insecure around non Black women specifically, right? And then also, even around Black women, I felt like if I receive a compliment in front of a Black woman, then she's going to be upset with me because I'm light skinned, right? Like I would literally like brace myself for that. Like whenever I go out with my friends, I'd be like, "Ooh, I really do hope that I don't get like attention from anyone while I'm with these, beautiful, gorgeous, dark skinned girls because then they're going to be like, it's colorism." And I did experience some of that at some times. And then I also started to get uncomfortable around like non-black women and thinking that what if they're like comparing me to other women, they think that I'm ugly because I'm black. That's how Chrissy had me thinking, you guys. She had me thinking that there is this racial hierarchy, okay? And so my light skin guilt was like all over the place. But today I feel very comfortable receiving compliments, even to the point where I don't do that whole thing where, oh, if somebody compliments you, you compliment them back. I don't do that anymore unless it's like a compliment from a woman that I feel like is genuine. That's when I will, return the compliment. But most times I don't, and I just say thank you and I smile. One of the things that I've learned is that when you smile at someone and you really accept the compliment, if they meant it genuinely, your smile and your thanks is compliment enough. Like that's a thank you enough. They feel good about it. Okay, so this question, how do I feel about loving myself and expressing my beauty or identity? Does it feel safe? Why or why not? Okay, so I don't think that it is safe on social media and not even in real life to express loving like my skin tone, like express loving that I'm a light skinned black woman. If it was, I wouldn't be anonymous on this channel, right? Like if it was safe for a light skinned black woman to say, "Oh, I love my light skin," and make I am affirmation, I would not be anonymous. And I don't care what you say. I don't care what you think you've seen. This is an anonymous channel. You don't know me. But yeah, I feel like it's not all the way safe. There have been women who have not even mentioned their skin tone, but because they were light skinned and they made a TikTok video saying that they loved how they naturally look without makeup, people like dragged them. But for the most part, I feel pretty comfortable. Yeah. There are some days where I make different decisions on how I dress. Like I deal with that a lot, actually. Not as much as I used to, but still more than I would like to. Where I'm like, oh, let me not wear these lashes because then I'm going to look like an exotical baddie. Like, like I don't want people looking at me. I'm already very thin. I'm light skinned. I have really nice hair. I love my hair. And I'm really good with my makeup and I have really beautiful facial features. So when I wear like bright colors, I wear my heels, I got my full face of makeup and my lashes, I can attract a lot of attention, like that's unwanted attention, or people will treat me a certain type of way. I've always in this area that I live in certain socioeconomic brackets, I've noticed that like outside of my community, like if I'm going somewhere that isn't predominantly black or it's of another culture's community, I don't get that same like negative attention. Instead, I feel like I fit in. You know what I mean? Like I feel like I'm not like sticking out like a sore thumb. But yeah, that's how I feel about expressing my beauty. Now, loving myself, I will always love myself unapologetically. So I'm never going to do any like self-pitying behaviors or like I'm not going to talk bad about myself to make another woman feel good. Not in real life and not online. I will never do that. When did you first start to humble or hide yourself? What event triggered this behavior? I think growing up in a black community triggered that behavior. I think that being humbled and having to hide and also dealing with imposter syndrome is something that overall black women deal with a lot. But I feel like growing up as a young black girl in a, slightly impoverished black community and even in the upper socioeconomic brackets of the black community in my area, I've felt a huge pressure to be humble and to hide myself. There's this culture of you can't critique anyone, and you can't critique a black woman, you can't make any corrections, and especially if you're lighter skinned, you can't disagree or critique someone who is darker skinned. Like you can't disagree with someone else who's darker skinned. I mentioned earlier that I was nominated for a beauty pageant. I remember during that time there were like older black women there that were kind of facilitating the event, and they swore up and down that I was arrogant because of the high school I was attending, and they wrote me off as like not a real black girl, or like I'm somehow anti-black or arrogant because I'm going to a predominantly white school that had better education opportunities. So I think that that's what's triggered me to humble myself or hide myself, knowing that if you let your light shine too brightly, people are going to try to stamp it out. People are going to try to drag you. People are going to try to demonize and villainize you. I dealt with that so much, and I feel like it started there. Okay, now these are the final two questions. Do I believe that it's colorist to like or even showcase my skin tone on my personal social media? Why or why not? No, I don't believe it's colorist because I feel like every human is entitled to like their skin tone. Also, if I am making comments or creating nicknames about my skin tone, that's my business. I'm not saying anything negative about anyone else. If I were darker skinned, no one would have a problem with it anyways. So I believe that it's highly discriminatory to say that a lighter skinned person can't love their skin or shouldn't even talk about their skin tone or how much they like their skin tone, especially in like my situation where like my whole family is like, well, not my entire family because I have darker skinned people in my family, but like my entire immediate family is on that light skin spectrum. And I can clearly see that the light skin tone is like kind of like the dominant gene. So it's a representation of who we are, of our identity. So I don't understand why I wouldn't talk about that. That's like saying um, that I shouldn't brag about my hair on social media because my hair is straight. No, my hair isn't straight, my hair is curly, but I'm just giving an example. Like, can you imagine if people were mad at women for bragging about how straight their hair is because of texturism? Like, that would be crazy, right? Like, and honestly, I do feel like that exists as well. Like, I feel like there are some black women who have like a looser curl pattern or like a, and I don't want to use like the curl typing chart because I don't believe in it, but there are people who, who showcase their hair or they have like natural hair channels. And you'll see like droves of other black women saying, "You're so texturist for showcasing your hair." Not everybody has that hair, and you already know that people pedestalize your hair texture. I think it's ridiculous. I think that there is a difference between fighting against a real ism like colorism and texturism and trying to erase or silence or hide the people who have these hair textures or have these skin tones. Like, just because we have an issue of colorism doesn't mean that light skinned people are not allowed to be seen. Next question. Do you feel insecure around non Black women? For example, have you ever felt disadvantaged around non Black women? I think I already answered this question in the last question, but yes. Um, and that was from being brainwashed by the Black women empowerment space. I felt like I was buying into the racial hierarchy, and I felt like because I'm Black, that I automatically had a disadvantage, or automatically was perceived as less feminine because I was Black. And that was not real. That was not real or true at all. In fact, other people have literally complimented me for how feminine I am. Even one of my old therapists, he was a white male, and he was like, "Oh, you are very feminine." This is couples therapy, by the way. So my man was there. He wasn't hitting on me or anything like that, but he was just like, "Oh, this is a very feminine woman," So I don't think that that was a real experience. I think that I was gaslit by the Black women empowerment space to feel disadvantaged around non-Black women. And now I realize that I am woman first, and then I am everything else. But that's all that I have to say. Of course, I had some deeper reflections on these, but I can't tell you all my business. This is an anonymous channel. But if you have some realizations or insights that you would like to share, go ahead and leave me some comments down below, and I'll see you on the next one. Have an amazing day.